name's Tony Lott. I'm the general manager at Fred Bean's Kia in Langhorne. I just wanted to take a minute to talk about Larry Feldman, Career Changers USA. Larry and I have been working together for about the last 12 years now, and anything I've ever needed as far as recruiting, training, Larry has been right there. Larry's got me salespeople, he's got me managers, he's got me technicians even through the toughest times in the industry, and he is just the kind of guy who's going to tell you exactly what's on his mind. He's going to tell you exactly what he thinks. But Larry also has the expertise to back it up. When he was in the dealership world, he was a top performer, and that's really important to my staff, especially as it pertains to training. A lot of people can come in and teach out of a textbook, but Larry has real-world experience dealing with customers, dealing with situations in dealerships that we go through on a daily basis and try to train on. But Larry's been through it, so he can really empathize with the people and tell you what's worked for him and maybe what way not to go. Larry is just always at a 10. I mean, his energy level is always up there, and I think people, they just love that and they feed off of it. He's not faking it. He is genuinely excited to come in and help you. He's excited to come in and help grow your business. And he's one of those people who just really enjoys seeing dealers succeed and have a lot of fun at the same time.
All right. Life is about connection. Having a support system to lean on. And roads to endless possibility. At every turn, guiding the way, we are building the connections that move you.
So what would your dealership feel like if your entire sales staff was literally on fire, your sales and service staff? They were nonstop all over social media, completely dominating your marketplace. They could do it in 30 days or less and then continue their education to do it for an entire 6 months or a year. You literally would completely take over the entire marketplace and no one would be able to compete with you. And that's what we can do for you. So when you're walking around your community, whether you're at local restaurants or you're going to the gym, if you don't want to be bothered, fine, you won't be bothered. But a lot of people will walk up to you and say, oh my God, I love your social media. Your staff is amazing. We love what you're doing in the community. We want to come buy a car from you. We want to get an oil change at your dealership. Your community is absolutely going to love you. And it doesn't matter what platform you're on. You could be on TikTok, LinkedIn, Facebook, Instagram, all social media platforms. You will literally be all over the place. And not only will you have ads running, but your own staff is going to be promoting your brand and promoting themselves within the dealership and within the business. So it's like running an ad times 100-fold because your entire staff is participating in the process. I've traveled all over North America. I've trained Toyota. I've trained Nissan. I've been to driving sales. I've been to Women in Auto. I get hired as a speaker for conferences at universities all over the country. And I can help change the trajectory of your dealership right now.
Hey, if you missed us live, you can listen to us wherever you get your podcast.
So Jeff's not here today, so I'm running the show myself. So I'm going to start with a few books. There's a number of books. I couldn't really limit it to 3, so I picked a few. So there's 5 actually. Fixed, Cracked It, Problem Solving 101, Upstream, and Think Like a Rocket Scientist. Disclaimer, none of the views and opinions that are expressed on the show are the opinions of Jeff or myself for obvious reasons. It is a live show, so let's get into it. Part 2 of How to Regain Customer Trust show, and today we're talking about solutions. So let's go ahead and start. So let me go to stop screen. Move this over. Stop share. Move this over here. All right. Well, good morning and welcome. Just gotta make this over here. Share screen. There we go. So I think our official guests are Matthew Groden. Obviously, we got Doug Reeves and Peter on, and of course, John, one of our sponsors. So, Mr. Groden, I guess introduce yourself as the former Google Answer Man and sort of what you're doing today, but more importantly, tell us a little bit about yourself.
Yeah, former Google Answer Man. So I'm sorry. Yeah, so I was was called the answer of retail related questions at Google. And that's what I did. I was kind of the human interface to Google, for Google Chat app, for dealers, for OEMs, etc. They had a question, I would get the answer. These days, I'm trying to figure out what I'm going to be when I grow up. But in between, I'm teaching at the Automotive Business School. I have a relatively new newsletter that I'm running, a podcast coming soon, and some other things, some other projects, some other work in the hopper. So, and tomorrow I'm going to be a dealer. I'll let Julian College, was kind of fun. This question, I mean, there was a lot of movement in the chat while we were watching the intro. I think and we've highlighted, that we're going to kind of articulate part of the problem as we did last week. I think it's that there is this kind of separation between where the consumer's expectations are and what experience they actually have at dealership. It's not 100%. It's not always the case, and some people are very familiar with the dealership experience. But I think the general phenomena for the average consumer is I only buy a vehicle once every 4, 5, or 6 years, and as a result, in the 4, 5, or 6 years, I forget what it was like. And in that time, I've had so many other experiences that are built around the expectations I normally have, like maybe by exception. And that creates this kind of weird cognitive dissonance. This is how I described it last week, between what I actually experience at dealership and what I'm expecting. I have always said that all of the elements to correct that are present in the dealership. It's kind of like it's like ingredients. It's like all of the ingredients are there to make something, chocolate cake, bread, whatever, like something delicious. And instead we end up with we take the same ingredients, we turn it into something unpleasant and sticky. And if there are two categories in my mind of the things that kind of need to be addressed. And there are some, long-standing issues that they're going to take some time. But I think on a very practical, on a very simple level, especially again through that digital lens, accuracy and consistency. Like, it sounds so simple, and you'd really hope that this was already the case. But just making sure that the way the business is portrayed on their website matches what's on their business profile, matches what's on their Facebook and Instagram pages. Like, just the simple fact of having the hours up to date everywhere in the same, as soon as those are different, as soon as I look at one place and I compare it to another and it's not the same, I've already lost faith in this business. And those are really simple things to fix. I was asked at a conference a couple of years ago, randomly, and in kind of a post-presentation question-answer area, someone randomly threw out how do you feel about dealers who don't list pricing on their websites? And I said, that's easy. Don't do that. Don't do that. Like, list the pricing. Don't try and obfuscate the pricing. Yes, there's other challenges with pricing. Yes, consumer may not understand exactly that what you list is maybe not exactly what they're going to pay. That's probably a whole other show. Pricing show at some point. But I think just the out of the gate, simple expectations, make it simple, consistent, accurate everywhere, and where you can be transparent is the good start. The harder thing, I think, is exactly what Simon Sinek was describing, was the how do you change that experience from one that people are, for the most part, dreading, to something that they're actually excited about. And one of the funny data points we had at Google that I allowed, and you could see it when you looked at kind of the whether it was Google Ads or whether it was in a business profile, you could see that so many people went to the dealership when it was closed. Like, that there was like an inordinate amount of activity of people going to the dealership when it was closed, and that was an avoidance tactic. Like, if I can go and walk around the car and look at it and read the read the sticker price. I can see the vehicle. I can basically have everything except the test drive without actually having to interact with everyone at the dealership. A lot of people choose that experience. A lot of people do that, and that I think is telling. I think that alone sort of highlights that, the crux of this cognitive dissonance problem, this crux of what I'm expecting and what I'm getting when I walk into a dealership are so divergent, so different, that it's really hard for the average consumer to bridge that.
Oh, I agree. I mean, it was kind of funny because over 20 years ago, I bought a coach at probably an interesting retailer called The Brick in Canada, and they're kind of you walk in the door and they jump all over you like, how can I help you today? And they follow you around like a cat or something. It's just bizarre. But anyway, so this time I went to a bunch of different retailers, anything from The Brick to Ashley Furniture to a bunch of other ones. And the thing that was really interesting, and it actually kind of reminds me a little bit of the car industry. When I worked in retail, on Sundays we were open later. So we were open, I think, 11 till 4. So you'd get people, like I'd always show up early because I knew people were looking around when no one was around. So people would be like shocked that you were there at like 9 o'clock. They're like, what are you doing here? I'm like, well, I work here. I'm like, are you open? I'm like, no. Like, you need help? They're like, yes. I'm like, okay. So the thing that was kind of funny that you brought up was after hours, the same thing would happen where people, they just didn't want that pariah salesperson jumping all over them going, can I help you with the car today? Like, welcome to the lot, like that kind of stuff. But what was interesting, and obviously when you're buying something like a couch, it's kind of similar to a car. I'm buying with my wife. Both of us have to be happy, and it's more about the interaction. And, what surprised me about Ashley, and I'm not paid by them by any stretch, was their whole process was well thought out. Their stores were well thought out. The guy knew the product. He could source the product. Yeah, they had add-ons, sure, like everybody else, like weather protection or whatever. They have an anniversary this year, so that was kind of interesting. But more importantly, they gave us this time and the space to actually check out the store, look at the different products, and then answered questions. It wasn't like, you got to buy it right now, right? Like, what are you here for today?
Price. And negotiate the price.
Yeah.
My manager won't let me sell it to
you. Yeah, did you want something else with that purchase, like a lamp or something like that? It was bizarre. And the funniest thing is I'd went to probably, I guess the price of a couch today is kind of similar to what it was 20 years ago. Like it's anywhere from $1,500 on the low end, or maybe $900 on the low end, to like $5,000 on the high end, or $10,000 on the high end. And I'm not in the market for a $10,000 couch, but I'm looking at it going, okay, what's the difference between, say, an $899 couch at the Brick and like a $2,500 couch, to pick a random number? What's the difference there, right? And really, it's about explaining that quality difference. Now, obviously, if you go to a place like Restoration Hardware, pick another brand. I mean, yeah, you can have a personal shopper and spend $10,000 if you want, but at the end of the day, I would say that mid-range of that market was really good. But not only that, simple questions like, what do I do with my old couch? Like, what do I do with that? And like, who helps me with that? And kind of thing. But the other thing that was kind of interesting was everybody, whether it be Apple or others, is going to this finance model now on a phone, which is kind of interesting. 0% or whatever they're doing. But it was kind of interesting because they were still on a warranty like a car dealership. And it sort of comes up to the question, Harris poll found 34% of people were pressured to purchase add-ons. And 30% said hidden fees. My brother had this experience with his daughter trying to buy a minivan. And then there's also this trick stuff, right? So to your point, if I've got it on my website and it's XYZ plus taxes, for example, it should be that when I show up. Or the manufacturer says, okay, the Honda Civic is X plus plus. When it goes to a dealership, it shouldn't be XX plus plus plus. Like, it should be consistent across the board. It'd be like going into a different McDonald's and having a Big Mac that costs twice as much. Like, it just doesn't make sense.
We've got a regional demand fee at this.
Yeah.
Every Big Mac is $10.
Yeah. Like, we really want to sell it to you for the same price, but, unfortunately, there's a shortage.
There's a shortage of Big Mac.
Yeah.
Special sauce, limited right now. Thank you. Sell you this Big Mac. Yeah, it's absurd. But, and I do think the further to that is and I think I've used this example on the show before, but it's it's really I think of the shootout many years ago, decades now, between Best Buy and Future Shop, right?
Yeah.
When Best Buy bought Future Shop Canada, they had two different sales models. They had a commission sales model, and they had a non-commission lower pressure sales model. Between the two, they realized their pressure, non-commission sales model worked better, sold more TVs and cameras and video game systems and the like. And so that became the dominant model. Not that we necessarily need to completely rewrite the book on how salespeople are compensated in a dealership, but probably we need to sharpen our pencils and change it a little bit. Like probably there's like a way in which we can encourage the correct behavior that is financially related and not encourage the wrong behavior.
And does anyone else want to comment? I mean, obviously there's a challenge with additional fees, or hot dog fees as we like to call them on the show. Does anyone want to comment on sort of what the OEM and dealer might want to do there to sort of make it a better experience, but more importantly, more consistent for the customer? I mean, anyone could jump in.
Yeah, I'll jump in on this landmine. There is a massive concern. It is being shown with the CARS Act in the United States, the FTC ruling in the United States, Toyota going to their new mandate with their websites, that all this is going to be eliminated from the marketplace, hopefully within the next short little while. They put a goal up, I believe it was July 9th, but they pushed back on that now. However, it is moving in the right direction. Pretty much the solution to this is transparency, consistency, dealer engagement, customer experience, removing of the fear, putting systems in place, creating managing expectations versus experiences. We can say a thousand different words that it's going to associate with this. The challenge is we live in a world right now where we operate the car lot, not the car business. It's the car lot. It's a 30-day turn on the business, and they are all concerned about every 30 days. Right now, with the challenge that has happened after COVID, and that the dealerships are not making their 5,000 plus PBRs, and now they're making 32, 33, which is still miles above what they were making in 2019 pre-COVID. Dealers are seeing that the sky is falling, and they're looking at it and they're going, what do we do? What do we do? We're challenged. We're scared. We're terrified. There's so many challenges that they're looking at, and we're seeing it right now. If you look at LinkedIn, how many people are looking for jobs? How many people have been terminated from positions that should never be terminated? It's just because, hey, the stakeholder looks at the GM and says, hey, our PBR is down by 25%. You're not doing your job, you're done. They don't look at it at economic conditions. They don't look at reality. They don't look at anything, but they just choose to terminate. And that's the solution in the car business. I wrote in a multi-part series about the cost of termination, the hidden cost of termination. It's massive, but no one looks at it because it's not on the statement. So the solution, first of all, is to understand that termination is not the answer. Looking at for solutions is the answer. Taking your team, retraining, recoaching, reinventing what we're doing is the answer. You're going to spend a lot less money in doing that than doing anything else. I've been part of a LinkedIn thread over the last 3 days by a gentleman. out of Florida that has a big dealer group. And it was talking about the cost of acquisition for a dealership in advertising costs. And he was at $391 per car in average acquisition costs. And the question was, where should I spend my money? Should I continue to spend my money on this car? It's been in stock for 34 days. And I've had 296 leads on it, but I can't sell it. What should I do? I said, first of all, fire all your third-party acquisition. Get rid of AutoHub, get rid of cars.com, get rid of everything. You can bring in more involvement to the dealership, find better solutions through organic sources of first-party data. Russell Hill's on the call. Doug Reeves on the call. Their solutions provide first-party data like no other. And you can use those solutions to your maximum without spending the ridiculous amount of money that you must with the lead providers. Oh yeah, when I said that, he went to his organic views and showed that his organic views far exceeded those of his paid views. And as such, you're just spending money in the wrong places. And that's one of the challenges of today. We look at things and we say, how do we provide the solutions for trust? Well, we're looking in the wrong areas. We're looking for our car keys in the wrong spots. In that, and we're never going to find the car keys in the lake, but that's where we're looking for them when they're on the desk. It's a ridiculous scenario that we deal with every single day, and there are so many solutions. On Thursday night, I had 10 companies on that were all customer centric and drove trust to the dealership. They were every single one of them tied into each other. And for the cost of those 10 companies to be together would be probably less than your cars.com and your Auto Trader and your Car Gurus account for all 10 of those to come into your dealership.
Oh, 100%. Like 100%. I mean, when I work for these.
And that's where I look at things, is that we just are programmed incorrectly now, and all we're getting is syntax errors. And that's basically, that's how I'm going to put it. It's a syntax error that we know the solution. We just are in fear of taking that step outside the box to challenge the norm, because we're so programmed by the third-party data providers to do things in their manner, which does not create trust. If we look at it and we say, and I know I'm put a shameless plug to Doug's company, and because it's very simple. The one price, one person model creates trust over anything else in your dealership. The amount of time you get up, you mentioned it when you talked about trust, when you were buying the couch. If that person walked away and brought in another person, and then he brought in another person, and then brought in another person, how do you feel as a consumer? We don't look at it as a consumer. I talked to the gentleman by the name of Jason Ross. He's the general manager or general sales manager of Mercedes-Benz Hilton Head. Yep. They bring in customers to their sales meetings to discuss how they're being looked at and treated. It is so important. The 20 group meetings are, in my mind, a waste of time. Bring in 20 customers and show how the trust is eroded in this business. They are going to tell you more than the dealer in Montana, or the dealer in Santa Monica, or the dealer in Maine. So let's start listening to our customers, and that's the important thing. And I'll yield from there.
Understood. Yeah, I mean, when you look at cost of customer acquisition, and when I work with Nissan, it was always interesting because for the last 25 years, I've heard numbers like $300 to $500. And this is not a new number, and it's not a new calculation. And I know you came up with one that's a little less than that, whatever. At the end of the day, when I worked for Nissan, I was privy to data on both sides of the spectrum, both from the dealer side and the manufacturer side. But let's just say that number in reality is, when you look at both advertising models, is roughly around $1,000 a copy. To your point, if you actually grew your dealership organically, but more importantly, you actually focused on your customers in terms of some of that spend versus focusing strictly on advertising or cars.com or Curvys or whatever, not only would you have more business, you probably do it for less, because at the end of the day, it's really about attracting customers to your brand or dealership, not specifically paying cars.com or Auto Trader or whatever. But the thing that's really being missed here, and this is something that obviously is passionate for me, is how are you handling those needs? How are you handling those customers when they're on your website? And I work with a company called VidCall, and that's capturing people on the website. So once they're on your website, let's just say that capturability is somewhere between 3 and 5% in the industry, maybe as high as 8. What happens to those 92% who are basically saying, I don't like your website? That's the big question. So if I'm spending, let's just say $365 to your number, or $500 to $1,000 to my number, essentially what's happening to the rest of that money that really just is not converting? And the reason isn't the website. The reason isn't even the dealership. The reason is the customer is not happy with the options. They're not happy with even the online experience. And we all know they're doing that more often than not. But maybe we can get some thoughts from Mr. Reeves on, I don't know, how things are changing and how customer experience solutions are out there and what's going on.
Well, first off, if it were up to me, my solution would be, one, I would go to a negotiation-free sales process. I would take away negotiating, because if you look at the reasons why customers complain and what the source of their distrust is, it all comes down to pricing and fees and lack of transparency. So the first thing I would do is go a negotiation-free sales environment. That doesn't mean that it's profit-free. It just means, hey, what the price you see is the price you pay. The second thing I would do is I would change the salesperson's pay plan and pay them more for referral business and less on just the fresh up.
Yeah.
Because that really then starts driving that long-term behavior that we're looking for. The third thing I would do is, if I've got this in place, I would advertise it, make it blatantly obvious on my website. This is how we conduct business. Because kind of like, people complain about sports teams. It's a sports team suck and the owners aren't spending any money, but the fans keep coming out. Well, you know what? Maybe if you made it so that the fans, and in this case, the customers, didn't go to the stores that did business the way that isn't conducive to them, and actually went to the ones that did, the other stores would get the idea. So I think advertising and promoting what you're doing is critical. The last thing, but the final thing that's important to me is coaching your people, but most importantly, giving them the knowledge that's beyond what they currently have. People need to be interchangeable parts within a dealership. Now, sure, A to Z sake, we've made great strides in the one-person model, but that's not for everybody. That's a very heavy lift for any dealership looking to go to a one-person model. But if we can empower the salespeople to do more, to be able to do more, so that we're less reliant on F&I, then what we've done is we've created the ability to really connect all the departments as one, that we're all singing up the same sheet. I know as much as my finance guy knows. We're all going to give the same message. I think that would help streamline things too. Now, to answer your question, technology, yeah, there's technologies out there. Our technology is amazing. There's other technologies out there that are amazing too, but tools are tools if you don't have to use it, if you don't know how to use them. And frankly, it comes down to the fundamentals I listed earlier that I think are the steps to regaining and creating customer trust. And I think that's what you're looking for is, well, there's some concrete things that can be done. Well, there's 4 concrete things that I think can be done. I can't wait to hear what you guys think about this.
Thanks for that. And we got 2 of our sponsors on. We got John and we got Joel. Maybe Joel has some thoughts on solutions around trust and customers in retail, being that he doesn't work in automotive retail, but he probably has some thoughts. So maybe, Joel, you have some thoughts. Thanks for that, Doug.
Thanks, Ian. Hi, guys. When I'm shopping online, I just bought paddleball, some new paddleball paddles, and I went online. I looked at the different stock. I saw the retail price. I made the purchase, and it's simpler that way. And I agree with you, Doug. I think that if prices were put on the cars, sure, there's going to be competition with one Ford dealer website having a Mustang for X amount of dollars, and another dealer coming in, $100 less than that. That's great for the consumer, right? Let the consumer shop and find the best price that they can find. But I think that's a solution. That's one of the solutions. The car dealers in the retail business put a retail price just like all retailers do.
Well, to add to that, Joel, and why do people go to high-end restaurants? I mean, it's basically the same food as you can get at any restaurant, but they go there because the experience is better and they'll pay more for it. Dealers that develop this over the long run will make more money just naturally because people will pay more for a better experience. So don't be afraid to do it. It's a great investment to make.
Price never sells a single thing. Never. There's been 1,000 studies, and those studies state unequivocally that price always falls between 6th and 10th position when discussing the reason why people purchase. It is very rare, and I mean very rare, that people will buy on price and price alone. If you look at it and you say, and I typically in my classes and my discussions, I talk about the hamburger, as you just alluded to. We all know we can buy a hamburger for $1. And we've all gone out and spent over $20 on that hamburger. Why did we do it? Convenience, quality, experience, location, speed, everything. There's so many different reasons why you pay. Now, we all know that we can jump in the car and we can drive to get that $1 hamburger. And that $1 hamburger and the $20 hamburger does the exact same thing. It provides us calories so we can move a better day. It's our fuel. That's it. That's all it is. It's fuel. So if we know that and we don't do it, there's a reason for it. It has nothing to do with price. And I will say that 1,000 times.
If I could just jump in for a split second to follow up on what Peter and Doug have been saying. It's fascinating to me because I haven't really been on the retail side in about 20 years myself in terms of actually selling cars, but we have handled the communications for the sales teams for many years successfully in most cases. And it's amazing how, a very small amount of professionalism, courtesy, and, that human touch can actually, it really isn't about, whether it's going to be $5-10 more on a payment plan or even considerably more. If I can get my team, which is a third party, that doesn't work for the car dealership, to call someone up and have, a nice rapport build, have a nice friendly conversation, get them into the dealership, it can go such a huge way towards, getting that deal closed. And that's just a tiny part of the process. But just to add to that, what Doug was saying before, I thought was really, really fascinating, that, maybe we should compensate our sales reps, not just on, bang out a car sale, start over, and let's keep doing it. But in terms of like the long-term relationship, with these customers, right? How many times have I been doing a lease pull-ahead campaign where I've called up a client myself? I booked 10,000 appointments back in my career as a BDR. Okay. How many times have I called up someone and they said, I leased this car 2 years ago. I got 1 year left. You're the first person from the dealership who's contacted me. How crazy is that? Hey, I'm a third party. I'm just like, how many good these people are? Like, hey, we want to talk to you about pulling ahead your lease, get you into a new lease, can do a great deal for you. They're like, I'm so glad you called because I thought the dealership was talking with me. It's just my kind of, it's indirect insight, but I mean, it's just crazy. You know what I mean? So I love that idea, Doug, of starting to encourage that client retention strategic viewpoint in terms of how you manage it, how you engage your customers.
Well, yeah, I had an experience in my car, And I bought this car, and the car's trying to market to me with a time-sensitive offer, but the offer isn't up long enough on the car screen, and it's not clear what they want, other than they want your credit card, they want you to call them. Like, it made no sense at all to me. But anyway, go ahead. Sorry.
So I'm going to jump on what John and Doug were talking about, pay plans. One of the challenges with pay plans in the dealership is to really enact a pay plan that builds in long-term retention. It complicates it way too much for the dealer and for the individual, so therefore they will never do it. The challenge to that, and I always say it, is that I can take a 10-car-a-month salesperson and take them to a 45-car-a-month salesperson in 4 years organically by just one thing. Ask for one referral per customer per year. One. That's it. Just get a referral. Never mind close a referral. I'm talking about just get one. And if you take the averages of the conversion rate of that, you will go to 45 cars a year organically. And sorry, 40 cars a month. Yes, you're correct. The challenge with that is it requires effort and time. And what happens is too many dealers are focused on the low-hanging fruit of here's a lead-off auto trade. They don't want to work off of the people that they already have in their first-party data. They're looking after the third-party data. And that's the biggest challenge with trust and rapport, because you look at it and you say, hey, I'm a customer. Why are you not even looking at me as a customer? Why? Like, as John said, 2 years, never contacted you. Why? Oh, now you want to talk to me because my lease is due and you want me to come back to you. Well, that erodes trust. It's truly against business principles, and that's why they say we operate as a car lot. We don't look at it as a business, because if we looked at it as business, we look at retention as one of the largest profit centers of the dealership. And that is not just retention of clients, that's retention of staff. And Doug and I have had massive conversations about this, because dealership retention, the retention of the staff is massive when you look at the retention of that client, because people don't want to go to the new person every year. One of the questions I ask in meetings, the first meeting I walk in, and there'll be 20 people in a sales meeting, and I'll say, y'all bought a car? Do you remember who your salesperson was? And 75% of them can't remember, and they're in the car business.
Exactly. Exactly. Thanks for that. We got to move it along a little bit. So I had some questions. So we got Mr. Hill, we got Mr. Roden. What do you think? I mean, obviously different points of view. What do you think about this conversation on, I don't know, basic follow-up with customers who bought cars? I think it's a great point.
Wow, that's a wormhole. So 39 years, I said this the other day on Peter's show, that I've been in this business, and these are the same, most of these topics are the same ones that I was talking in 1985. And it's unfortunate that 95% of the population get their information from the same 95% of the population has what they have or less than what they have, and they wonder why they don't have anymore. Now, I do see post-pandemic, because of stuff like this, it's certainly a focal point. And I do believe there's a paradigm shift starting to take place in certain areas, which all of you have alluded to. But this is not an overnight thing. One of the things that I also mentioned the other day is I had it handy, but I doubt it's a training manual from Ford in the 1950s. And it's the same. It's the same. The rub to the sales, the same thing. When you shortcut it, costs you gross, repeat, referral, retention, CSI, and it costs all those things. There is a process, there is a road, but it's not even it's the speed of the package that like the leader. It's the leadership. And that's the part that I see starting to change. I'm involved in a lot of rooms like these when we're talking about these things. And the old, pardon my French, motherfuck your salespeople because they didn't do this right or do that right, or they can't do anything right whatsoever. That's starting to change because there are newer people coming into the industry, and it's like, okay, managers light a fire underneath people, leaders light a fire inside of people, and there's a difference in leadership style, and I'm starting to see that happen, slow increments of that. There's a wave of technology enthusiasm out there right now, and I think it's wonderful for a lot of reasons. But technology to accelerate momentum is a phenomenal thing. But a lot of people are buying technology to create something that they don't even have in place. It's a disaster and cancellation waiting to happen. There's people that are signed up left and right for all kinds of AI stuff, and 3 to 6 months later, they're canceling. This is the year of sign up and cancel for technology. We're going to get it figured out. I do believe that. I believe that this is the greatest transference. And I believe there's going to be, I kind of like a third. So there's going to be a lot of people that lose their jobs, but most of a third of them probably. The other third, their job descriptions are going to change. They're going to retain their jobs, but it's going to be at the help of processes and systems that include AI and robotics and things of that nature. I really believe that. And I also believe that all of us talking about this kind of stuff and implementing, and, it's a slow process, right? Change is inevitable, right? Growth is optional. We hear that it's true all the time as well. And it truly is. And I found in my life anyway, wherever I resist change the most is exactly where I need to change. It's uncomfortable sometimes. But you know what? For me, and my story, life is at the edge of my comfort zone. It's not in my comfort zone. And I don't mean I don't like comfortable things. That's not what I mean. You all know what I'm talking about, right? Y'all know what I'm talking about? Yeah. Yep. Okay. It's out there, man. It's out there. Cutting edge stuff, talking to guys like you and exchanging ideas back and forth. And, I appreciate what everybody in here contributes. I kind of think we're like pioneers in some way. And hopefully in the next couple of years, I'm going to start to slow my ass down. And, but in the meantime, it's just for example. So people, I think it's important to read. And I think that we all hear the definition of insanity is keep doing the same thing, expecting different results. For me, it's real easy with people that I counsel or mentor or talk to. The only thing about tomorrow that's going to be different than today, you 3 things, okay? What you read, what you listen to, and what you appreciate. So if 95% of those people are getting their information from the same people, how are you going to get anything worth? And that means you got to input new in order to get new output. If not, you're a sum total of everything you've ever seen until this moment. Do you all agree with that?
Yep, 100%.
So that's why I surround myself with people like you and all of the people I'm so blessed because of this technology. People say, "Oh, Russell, you're such a guru, and you know how to do this." And I got a technology company. Listen. And my story is like, I have a lot of obstacles in my way and things that I fell victim to in my early career, but that's no excuse. If you want something different, go out there and get it. Quit listening to people say, "You can't do that. I tried that. That won't work," because they got interrupted by all of us who just did. That's exactly what I think. I'm going to stop there, man. I'm pumped up, fired up, excited. I got the hairs on my arms standing up. I'm fired up. Let's go.
Thanks for that. Matthew, you want to add some thoughts on that from a technology point of view?
Yeah, I mean, Russell, I don't disagree. I would say that almost every year at dealership is to hire a bunch of, buy a lot of tech, cancel a lot of tech, like that said. And in that, I think one of the most embarrassing things that I heard a lot, talking to, have very specific reasons why I would ask these questions back in the day at Google, but I would be talking to a dealer out of group. I'm like, okay, where are you storing your first party data? Well, we used to have a CRM, but we canceled it. It's like we canceled it. Like you don't see value in keeping the CRM. It's like the absurdity of that kind of statement, and it blows me away. And I think but it demonstrates the lack of perceived value in doing what you were saying, Doug, like doing the tracking lifetime value, try to have a longer event horizon than just the sales of this month. I was going to write. It's funny. I should actually put this presentation together because I think it might work. I had many ideas when I was at Google that I rejected because I'm like, that will probably get me fired. Like that is likely to upset a room full of OEMs and dealers in a way that will likely get me fired. But now I'm kind of pulling those ideas out, resurrecting. One of them was a presentation that started with a statement that I knew most people in the room would disagree with. And the statement was simply this: leads are killing your business. And the basis of that was exactly what you were saying, Peter, that it's this notion of, your laser myopic focus on getting more leads is preventing you from seeing the wealth of data and opportunity you have in your existing customers.
Right on.
And that translates into a whole set of systemic behavior at dealership that is the crux of everything we talked about today. That is the crux of why the experiences that kind of disjointed cognitive dissonance that is not what consumers are expecting. And it's rampant. Like this is so rampant. And part of it, there's definitely a people part to this. There's a process part. There's a tools part. I think a lot of the CRM tools that are available to dealers are not actually CRMs. Like they're not by the definition you would give it in an enterprise outside of Automotive. Like it doesn't have the capability. It doesn't automate. It doesn't report. It doesn't do a lot of the things you would expect. And I know that that's not universally true. Some are better than others, but that what you should be able to do with that data in terms of understanding who your customers are, that would then lend itself to treating your customers differently, that would then lend itself to treating your staff differently, is just missing. Like it's like an entire thought exercise that is missing from the OEM dealer ecosystem. And part of it is they both look at each other and they say, the OEMs and the dealers, they're like, well, isn't this your responsibility? Like there's kind of like a real am I supposed to do this or are you supposed to do this? And end up getting the point at each other. They're like, well, you manage this. They're like, well, you manage the systems and the data. Who's actually responsible for this? And in the end, no one's actually responsible for it. Like no one actually takes up the mantle of let's treat our customers better by ensuring we know who they are. I'll stop there.
I don't think so. I doubt too much has changed, but from 2000 to 2011, I had a CRM called Car Research. Only 5% of people actually bought in them. Now, I don't know if those numbers change, but it's like a train with constant oversight, reporting, and automation that was built into it. And yet still only 5% of the people even bought into it and used it the way it should have been used. It is ugly.
Yeah, I mean, I think
responsibility. I mean, and I got to hop off in a second, but I've exit with some interest, with some thought. To your point about customer relationship and customer experience and what we call it is dealership experience, because it goes far beyond the customer, it includes employees. I really think that the OEMs and the dealers should somehow be able. There should be some sort of a centralized source of not let's apostolize about what it would mean, but here's how you actually do it. Here's real life situation where dealers can grasp on and say, well, here's how you put it into play. It's going to be an investment. They've got to have the courage and the stamina to really focus on this. And the low-hanging fruit, we're all there, but it's the willingness to harvest for the long haul. It's going to take some guts. But the dealers that have done it need to be praised. The dealers that have done it need to be examples for others. It has to be shared. It has to be developed that way. And And as far as your point about, technology, I'm a big fan of it. It should make people's jobs easier, but it's incumbent upon the technology provider to insist to the dealer as much as he possibly can until his forehead is flat, banging against the wall. Here's what you're not using. Here's what you need to take advantage of. Because it's too easy for a technology provider to plug it in and walk. I got them signed up. I'm out of here next. That's not the way to run business. So I got to jump, but I appreciate it, guys. Have a good day.
Thanks very much. Now we got about 4 minutes left. So one more comment from everybody. Go ahead.
So first of all, back to the Brody is we all fall prey to blame Gary Ross. We want police. We want the best lead. We want this.
Big move. Appreciate it.
Our crap, and we want better ones. And if you give us better leads, we'll get more sales. Well, that's it. Let's look at the term first party and third party. Where should the priority be? And we have got it reversed. We got it reversed. We're looking at third party needs versus first party data, and we're mixed up. And so many people say I'm abrasive and
you are, but that's good.
Yeah.
Never abrasive. What are you talking about? Difficult? No.
Abrasive and difficult to them. Well, no, I'm not. It's awareness. If you walked out of the bathroom with toilet paper stuck on your shoe and you walked across the restaurant, wouldn't you want someone to tell you?
Absolutely.
And that it's not to say, hey, you're an idiot. It's, hey, there's a challenge here. And I can make you aware, and I can help you be aware. That's it. It's not about anything else. It's about awareness. And the challenge is there are so many providers out there that are out there saying, hey, you got to have my system. You got to have my system. You got to put this into place. You got to do this and that. I don't do that. I'm agnostic. I'm absolutely agnostic. I'm there to say, hey, what's your challenges? Let's talk about finding the solutions, and let's work together. Sandpaper actually smooths things out and it reduces friction. Understood it that way, and we move forward. So I agree with Brody. We're looking in the wrong place for the leads, and I love your thought process, and I byline that any day.
Thanks, Ben. Any other final thoughts from anybody? We got 1 minute left. Yeah, exactly.
I'm gonna rate that one down about the sandpaper. That was good. Yeah, that was.
All right. Well, thanks for being on the show today. We're out of time, and we have to do a show on pricing and transparency, because I think that's a show that needs to be done. Being that we have hot dog fees, but more importantly, how do you compete when the price across the board is the same? I think that would be a very interesting conversation. Anyway, have yourself a great day.
Just suck less.
Just suck less.
Yeah, every day.
All right.
Peace out.
Hey, if you missed us live, you can listen to us wherever you get your podcast.